So today we are starting our Johnny Appleseed project. So the first step is creating the stamp, which we're going to be using to create like a quilt effect on a piece of paper. And then once you have this dry, then we're going to stamp it. And then the last step will be the apple and all the little details for that, okay? So first of all, I do want to point out, if you finish this last time and it's dry, then you'll be able to stamp. But if today you are gluing it, you're gonna glue everything down and then you're gonna kind of skip the background part, okay? So you're gonna be a little bit out of order, but it will make sense in the end, so you're not waiting around to do nothing, okay? So the very first step, if you have yet to do it, is the actual, this is gonna be like the stamp we're gonna be using to do the printmaking, okay? So you're gonna get a piece of this board. You're gonna write your name and 2 dash and your teacher's first initial, then you're gonna turn it over. Then you're gonna find these little foam pieces, and you can see some of them are square. I use a square in both centers. This one, I took one of these same square sizes and I just cut it in half and I put it over there on the corners. Then I found a smaller square here and cut that in half for this other area. So I'm trying to create something that's symmetrical, so the same on both sides, okay? You can use curves and things like that, but it's as long as it's symmetrical, we are good. And I have that visual like this that gives you some different quilt square ideas, but you don't have to make it like these exactly, okay? Or you can just take ideas from it. So let's say I'm working on it. So I've got my glue, I've got this. So to create that, the first thing I did, well, after I glued down my center, is I take my scissors and kind of put it in the corner there. And then when I cut it, I try to go to the other corner. Now that's too big, but that's the size I use for this one, okay? But I'm gonna cut it down even more so. So I'm gonna go from the corner to about half-ish and save those pieces. Corner, half-ish. And it really doesn't matter what colors you choose because we are going to put white on it. So then I'm gonna arrange it. So in mine, they kind of look like this. Okay, then I would turn this around and then do the same thing here. Okay, for my pattern, and then the same thing there. And then when I glue it, remember, not a lot of glue. You wanna make sure it's not dripping. You just need a little bit of glue on there so it holds it. A little bit of glue for it to hold it. Oops, sorry. I always try to put it back there. And then I kind of arrange it. Sometimes it wants to slide around on me, and that's okay. And that's fine. You see a little bit of that glue kind of coming out the sides there. That's fine. Another way you can do it is literally put some glue like that directly on there and then glue it like this. And that works too, because when the glue dries, it's not gonna affect anything. It's gonna dry clear, so I wouldn't worry about that at all. Okay, and see how that's kind of shifting around? So once you finish this one, then we're gonna set it on the counter to dry. We're not gonna do the paint today if you just glued, because it's still kind of shifting and moving, okay? But if you did it last time, you're gonna move on, okay? So this is where we're gonna have a fork in the road. So A, if you finished it last week, then you're gonna get a square sheet of paper and stamp. B, which we'll get to this in a little bit, you're gonna set this on the counter and then get the apple pieces, okay? So I'm gonna pretend that I finished last week, okay? So I'm going to get my square piece paper, write my name, 2 dash and my code, and turn it over, okay? Then you're going to get white paint, a brush, and we're going to paint it. So you don't need a lot of paint. So I'm gonna take my paintbrush and I'm just gonna paint the top. If you get a little bit on the bottom part, that's okay, because these foam pieces are high enough and raised enough that it won't affect anything if you have any paint down there, because it won't even touch your paper. So you're gonna paint all of your pieces. I try not to get too much in the background, mainly so that I have something that I can hold that's clean. Okay, so I want to make sure I've coated all the tops of my pieces, getting to the corners, because I think that's very important. I can set my brush down. Then you're going to take your paper and you're going to create a stamp. So you're going to put a stamp right there in the corner like this. And you notice I just laid it down, and I'm going to press. Try not to shift it. I'm just pressing down. Okay, then I'm going to lift up my stamp. It's not perfect. There's a little spot there, but it still works, okay? So what I can do, be like, okay, so when I put my paint on, I think I was pretty good about putting my paint, but maybe when I pressed down, I didn't press on my top equally, okay? So let's see if what I do next time, it's even better. So I'm putting more paint. Okay, then I set that down. Then I put this right next to it. So you should be able to see, like this one here, I didn't do a great job last time, so I can kind of see where the edge is, and then that is matching up. Now I'm gonna do a better job pushing on all sides. And then I'm gonna take up this hand, hold that down, because I'm trying not to wiggle it around because I don't want it to slide. Okay, let's see if this one does better. Yes, that was definitely more successful. Still a little bit more in the corners there, but I bet you a third time will be the charm. So the same thing I'm going to do. And you get the idea. I'm just repeating this all the way across. But I like to start off with the bottom row first, so I have a nice place to kind of end my next, or start my next row. Okay, so I'm gonna paint this. And the good news is the paint kind of absorbs in there, so you can kind of see if it doesn't seem like it's white, that means, okay, I need to have more. So I'm gonna pick this up. So this should match up at the edge there and at the corner of my paper. Bottom corner paper, we're good. Now I'm gonna press it again. So this time I might try rubbing it, but I'm gonna have to be careful. See how this hand's kind of anchoring it down? Let's see if that works better. I'm gonna get that middle area because I feel like that's where I'm kind of, that point is where I'm missing out. Let's see how that works. And then peel it. Okay, even better. Now I'm gonna turn this, and then I'll do the same process. Paint, lay this right beside there, making sure the edge goes there, press it down, paint. This time it's gonna go on the edge here, press it down, and then we're gonna do the same thing all the way across, okay? And I'm gonna pretend that I'm finished with this, okay? So let's pretend that I'm finished with that for now. So now we're gonna move on to the apple, because it's Johnny Appleseed. So we're gonna create an apple in the middle of our paper, okay? So I have a white and a red. We're gonna start with the red one first, okay? Because that's gonna be the outermost one. And then we'll do the white next. Sorry, my papers are sticking to it. Okay, so if this is mine, I need to make sure all of this is glued. It's setting down somewhere to dry, because since that's still drying, I can't do the stamping. So while that's drying, I'm gonna work on my apple so that when I am finished, I can just glue the apple on and I don't have to wait around. So I'm actually, to kind of make it a little easier, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna fold it in half. I'm gonna fold it with the white on the outside, okay? And I'm going to draw an apple shape. So the important part is, as you can see, this is the fold and that's the opening. I want the fold to be on the inside, so when I cut it out, I don't have two pieces, okay? And I'm gonna start at the top here. I wanna try to use up my paper pretty much. So I'm gonna get to the edge there, because apples are pretty big on top. Then they kind of round and get narrow, and then a lot of times they have a little dip or curve up here. So that's a real basic apple shape. And I really wanna use up the paper, so when I have this cut, it's a lot bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna cut out all pieces. So it's like cutting out 4 pieces of paper at the same time. And then I'm gonna keep cutting it, to the end. This can be thrown away. Then I'm going to open it up. So right now, those are both the same size. Now I want to be able to see kind of an edge. So I'm going to refold it and I'm going to cut again, but this time I'm going to cut about, if you want to draw it, kind of 1/4 of an inch in from the sides, okay? So if you want to draw it first, you totally can. So I'm going to draw, I drew it lightly, and then now I'm going to cut. And if you need help from me, I will be around to help you. Then I'm going to open it up, and you should have your piece kind of fits in here just like that. Then you can take this glue that we had, and you're going to put a little bit of glue. Remember, not dripping it, just like a little blob there, a little blob there, just enough for it to hold it down. And then you'll set that there to glue it on. You can take the black paper and make the seeds, the green paper and the brown paper to make the stem and the leaf and all that. And then I would write my name, Mrs. K, dash your teacher's code on that, so that next week this will be ready to go. So you'll have this done, and then your foam piece will be ready and dry, and then you can continue stamping.